What is up, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans? Welcome back to another episode review and breakdown, this time for episode 9 of Season 7, the final season of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So this episode was titled, As I Have Always Been. And this episode was crazy, because, it's kind of become natural to have you laughing, then crying within the same episode of S.H.I.E.L.D., but we've rarely laughed and cried quite so much as we have in this one, because it's smart, twisty, and just absolutely brutal all at once. And that's because this episode is taking on the story of Groundhog Day, basically. So the heroes are stuck in a time loop, and it's very much similar to the Groundhog Day movie. But you get these kind of storylines in TV shows or movies all the time, and I just see them so often that I just get tired of them, and because I just feel like it starts getting annoying as they keep doing the same exact thing over and over again. But I love how they did it here in this episode, because they didn't start at the beginning. They started kind of in the middle of the time loop, and then they also mixed in like a murder mystery and everything. So it was crazy. I love this episode. There were so many twists and turns. But before I get into all the spoilers of this episode, I gotta give a massive spoiler warning if you have not yet seen this episode. So go check it out if you have not yet seen it. But now that you've been warned, let's break down everything that happened in this episode. So, like I said, after that final jump into oblivion last week, Zephyr is now stuck within a time storm, which is basically just a fancy way to say they're stuck in a time loop. So, yeah, one of those. But for whatever reason, Daisy and LMD Colson are the only ones aware of the loop. And Daisy's leading theory here is that they're immune because they were both within those sci-fi sleep tubes when the loop began. But this time loop comes with a twist, because it's not eternal. As Daisy and Colson figure out, they're continuing to get closer to the vortex of the time storm with each loop, because there were just so many different twists and turns, because this is a classic storyline to take on in a TV show, but they added in their own unique twists and stuff. So I love how they did that. Now, this is also kind of bad for them, because if they don't break the time loop in time, then they're dead or erased from reality. So whatever it is, it's not good, but it is good for us, because it turned out to be a great episode because of it. But the episode is directed by Elizabeth Henstridge, who of course plays Gemma Simmons, and this is her directorial debut, and she just does a fantastic job of balancing the world-saving stakes and humor of trial and error to figure out exactly how to break the loop. And I just think it's so cool that she not only directed the episode, but then she was also in the episode quite a bit. So that was pretty crazy. And then some of those scenes, like when she was getting the flashes of memories brought back into her head, like how she would just be behind the camera or whatever, being a director, and then all of a sudden just go on in front of the camera and be like, all right, time to do my crazy scene now. Like that's just awesome. That's insane that she can do that and switch from director to actor so easily. But anyway, back to the episode. So this time loop that they're stuck in, it turns out it's a result of the time drive critically malfunctioning, which gives Daisy and Colson just a short amount of time to try and solve the problem. And they eventually learn about Simmons' memory suppressor tech, and hope that removing it could reveal a solution to fix the time drive. But the only problem is, someone keeps killing Simmons before they can remove it, and several loops later, they figure out Enoch has been subconsciously programmed by Fitz and Simmons to prevent its removal, even if that means literally killing Simmons and the other Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the process. We transition from a whodunit to the next batch of loops, which are spent trying to figure out a way to stop Enoch from them, stop him from stopping them from removing the memory device. And this is one of those great twists on this storyline, because they usually, when shows do this kind of storyline in their show, they just do the same exact thing over and over again. But with this, there were different things happening in each section of time loops. Like, first, it was Daisy figuring out that she's in a time loop. How can they fix it? Then they were figuring out who kept killing Simmons, and then once they figured that out, they had a bunch of loops trying to stop Enoch from killing everyone. So it was crazy, but this basically leads to several loops, like I said, where Enoch kills or beats up basically everyone as they try to time out a plan to distract Enoch long enough to access Simmons' memories. And you know, I have to say my favorite part of that, of them trying to distract Enoch, is of course when Sousa was trying to distract him, and he was like, hey, when is lunch on here? Because, you know, back in the military, you know, we would always have lunch together at once. But I just love that. Sousa's great. But it takes almost the entire team to fight him once they switch over to that plan. But once they finally get it done and Simmons provides the answer, it turns out Enoch's heart is the only thing that can fix the time drive. And that means to break the loop. But Enoch has to die in the final loop, meaning he wouldn't come back to life. So, yeah. But once they reach the final loop before Oblivion, they put the pieces together and explain the plan. Without hesitation, Enoch completely willingly hands over his heart to save his friends, to honor the friendship that Fitz planted in him all those years ago. His dying words, "Fitz, he was my best friend, as I have always been." That's exactly what inspires the title, because the episode is titled "As I Have Always Been," and those are the final words of Enoch. And it's a heartbreaking scene as we see that Daisy and Coulson stay with Enoch so that he doesn't spend his final moments alone. And he talks about how he never understood loneliness until he had friends to miss. And it's brutal. It's a heartbreaking scene, and made all the harder, as Colson explains. Sometimes dying first is the easy part because you're not left behind to mourn. And it was sweet, touching, a fitting, heroic end to Enoch. Though we'll definitely miss him, because I have to admit, he's probably one of my favorite characters on the show. And at the beginning of the season, the first couple episodes, I think he actually was my favorite episode, especially when he was working there in Koenig's bar, pub, whatever it was, and then whenever he would answer the phone, he'd just be like, "The crazy canoe," like that's just great. So I love this character, and it's sad to see that he's gone. But usually when something like this happens, when it's one of my favorite characters that dies, I'm usually pretty upset about it, just because I want to see more of that character. But with there only being 3 or 4, there's 4 more episodes left after this, I'm okay with it, because there's not much we're missing from him, and I feel like he got the fitting heroic end. Although I'm really excited to see what Fitz's reaction is to when he gets back and then he finds out that his best friend is dead. So I'm excited to see that. But for everything else that was going on in the episode during this whole journey, Daisy pieces together that Agent Sousa might have feelings for her. So he likes her. He likes her. And basically she also realizes she has feelings for him. And they have a touching heart-to-heart moment where he opens up about being that person who supports the heroes who don't take care of themselves, essentially because they're too focused on fighting for the greater good. And Daisy takes advantage in one loop to just lay a kiss on Sousa. Though Sousa obviously won't remember that once the time loop is broken, but I suspect that little ship, it will come back up down the line. So they're probably going to become an official couple. I don't really know how to feel about it, other than I don't like it. I'd much rather prefer Daisy with Deke, or for Daisy to just stay single. I just don't like the Sousa Daisy mix. Because I mentioned this in one of my past videos, like, if you think about it, like, think about if Sousa never died and he never came on the ship, like, if he was still alive all those years, by the time Daisy was even born, he would already be over 100 years old. So even though they took him out of the time stream from when he was younger, it's still weird to think about. Like, he's super old, but I don't know. But let me know down in the comments below how you feel about it. But before in this episode, we also get some great moments between Daisy and Colson, because this really is a Daisy Coulson episode, and this being the final season, it was nice to see them team up for one final episode on a solo mission together here. Also, even though he's a robot, but I mean, Colson still loves the vinyl because, you know, records are cool. But Enoch, before his death, he drops a troubling proclamation, or like his prophecy here, and he says he's seen the future and this is the team's last mission together, which, I mean, yeah, it's the show's final season, so it's kind of breaking the fourth wall there. But does the season end with the team dead, retired, trapped in another dimension? So many questions, but I think basically what we can take away from this is that by the end of the season, we are not going to have one of those happy endings where they're like, alright, now we'll just continue on to keep doing S.H.I.E.L.D. missions. Like, no. They're either going to retire, a bunch of them are going to be dead, or they may just end S.H.I.E.L.D. altogether, and then they may tie this into the MCU and create Sword, which would be awesome. So I really hope they tie this into the MCU and transition from S.H.I.E.L.D. to Sword. There's been rumors of that being a Disney Plus series, so I hope that actually happens with all these characters. That would be amazing to see. But I'm super excited to see what happens here and why this is their final mission together. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But we do get a post-credit scene this week, of course, and it's with Nathaniel Malik, of course, that bad guy I don't really care about. He's kind of just weird and creepy and annoying at this point. But he is assembling his team of evil Inhumans for whatever nefarious purposes he's worked out with the Chronicoms. Also, that superpowered woman we met last week, I think her name is Cora, we basically get confirmation here that she is Daisy's big sister. So we already knew about that. I mean, it was hard to you really notice last week, but I did mention it in my review. Also, it was kind of in the title of my last episode review as well. But there's just so many questions here, like, how did Daisy have a sister this whole time that we never even knew about? So yeah, that's pretty crazy. But before I end off this review, I wanted to save this for the end because it's not completely related to the episode, but I just want to take a moment to talk about Fitz, because 4 episodes left of the series, still haven't seen him this season at all. I don't know, because we saw in one of the time loops, they were able to remove the memory, blocker or whatever it's called, and Gemma just got that flash of memories, and she obviously saw where Fitz is, but she seemed really emotional and like she was about to cry, and you could say that could be because she just got so much information and so many memories flashing through at once. But at the same time, what if it's because something happened to Fitz? What if Fitz is actually dead and that's why we haven't seen him yet? And what if Simmons had to kill him or something? Or what if she had to what if he died and then he got uploaded into a Chronicom's body or into the internet or something? I don't know. There's so many crazy theories here, but I'm definitely excited to see where this goes from here. I hope we see Fitz soon, because we should. I'm not sure if it'll be happening in the next episode, because we're going back to the whole Jia Ying, Nathaniel Malik, and Humans storyline again. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm definitely looking forward to this. So yeah, I love this episode. Elizabeth did a great job directing this, way better than I thought it'd be, because it's like I said, usually I don't really care for Groundhog Day like storylines, but they added in so many twists and turns here, like with the murder mystery aspect and everything, that it was just so good. I loved it. But what did you guys think about this episode? Let me know all your thoughts and theories down in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video. And please hit that subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the Marvel life.